Our time is drawing to a close, Professor Quine, and I think just a few closing remarks would be appropriate about how you appraise or survey the current scene in philosophy, i.e. the preoccupations with the current study of philosophy by...
I find, on the whole, I find it very encouraging and hopeful. It seems to I see a very bright future. Perhaps the most hopeful bit is the increasing communication between philosophers and scientists in various fields of science. Dan Dennett here, getting over so much into neurology and psychology and also computer theory. And tying this in with a theory of knowledge. It's exactly the sort of thing that brings more and more deeper understanding of, what I, in my naturalistic way, think of as epistemology. Then again, I spoke earlier of the students, graduate students in philosophy, who have been going over into physics seminars and getting up on the really problematical things in physics. So I find all this very hopeful. Of course, there are countercurrents. There's deconstruction and in general a movement which I think of as rather nihilistic and negativistic. There's it may be wishful thinking, but it doesn't seem to me that's the sort of thing that has much survival value. There have been scoffers and nihilists and skeptics all along.
As for your own work, are you working on anything at the moment?
No fresh tangent, certainly. I've been having to prepare various lectures for various occasions, and that's about what it's been coming to, writing up a series of lectures that I gave in Catalonia a couple of years ago for a book that they want, but it's going to be more a teaching kind of thing, the kind of thing that I would do in the classroom, than something that's going to make an appreciable change in the views that I've already been expressing, which have been changing some right down to the present day, almost.
My final question, if you were now 25 years old, just beginning your philosophical career, which problems would you choose to work on now?
Well, I think of two lines of research that I think would be promising. They both are just carrying on the sort of thing that I already believe in, rather than promising a whole new vision. But one of them, and it's the sort of thing, again, that Dan Dennett is so much involved in, just getting deeper and deeper into neurophysiology and related matters, getting the mechanism of thought and what goes into all this, and in the way of clarifying the really deepest roots of what I would think of still as of epistemological interest. And the other is sort of long-term project is related to my schematization of the checking or confirmation, experimental checking of scientific theory, which I have schematized as the logical deduction from a body of theory, small or large. It should be just big enough to be strong enough to accomplish the following, namely, to logically imply what I call to logically imply a connection between a pair of observations. Observations that could be made, for each of which we would have an observation sentence to report it as something that would be conditioned to our sensory input. The implication would be that whenever this observable thing happens, this observable thing must happen with it or just after. that implication of the two observations, that's a general statement, which would be implied by this chunk of theory that I'm imagining. And then you go ahead and test this prediction by fulfilling, bringing about the first observable condition and seeing if the second one does actually occur. So here's the testing of a theory. But it would be quite another thing to trace out from a serious chunk of scientific theory. Well, let's not start out with quantum mechanics or even with relativity theory, but with Newtonian mechanics, perhaps. Quite explicitly schematized in mathematical logical auxiliary devices, and follow out then the implications logically, set it all up. Other supporting considerations would keep coming in, which would be obvious platitudes that the scientist would even cross his mind. They just stand to reason. But all these would have to be made explicit, and in such a way as actually to realize this hypothetical connection of implication that I think is fundamental, and to do this for one and another part of science. And then I even imagined that if this were carried out and everything seemed to be in order still in that about those general principles, it might even be that doing it more and more would help science itself by showing, in one case, here was a rather questionable hypothesis. Turns out it wasn't needed at all. You got those implications without that one intervening. We chuck it. It's progress in the way of elegance and economy. And then in another case, maybe we find a lacuna. It might alert the scientists to something that, well, maybe there's a crucial experiment still that could spike the theory that they thought was already pretty well established. It might be, this might mean finally a real, maybe there'd be the consulting philosopher in the physics lab, and to be a more complete cooperation between philosophy and science, or the rest of science, than we see even now.